Today I'm going to share something with you that might completely change the way you think. All of us reach a moment in life where one decision shapes our entire future. And today, that moment, that decision begins right here. The moment a woman feels the strongest pull toward you is usually the moment she runs. Not because she doesn't want you, but because you just became the only man who can break her. Most men panic when this happens. They chase harder. They overthink. They take her distance personally. But here's the brutal truth no one tells you. A woman pushes you away the most when she's the most afraid of how deeply she feels you. Not rejection, not loss of interest, not games. Fear. Fear of losing control. Fear of being vulnerable. Fear of wanting you more than you want her. Fear of getting hurt the way she swore she'd never allow again. And the moment that fear hits, she retreats fast. Her texts slow down. Her warmth turns cold. Her softness becomes silence. But here's where everything changes. The man who understands this dynamic wins her heart. The man who reacts emotionally loses her instantly, because when she pulls away, she's not testing your words, she's testing your center. In this video, you're going to learn the real psychology behind her push-pull, why she retreats right when things feel perfect, and exactly how to respond like a grounded, masculine man, without chasing, without begging, and without losing yourself. So if you've ever wondered why a woman pulls away when she wants you the most, you're about to understand her on a level most men never will. Let's begin. There's a moment in every connection where something shifts quietly, invisibly, but powerfully. A moment when a woman stops seeing you as just another man and begins to feel something deeper. And it's exactly in that moment, when the emotion becomes real, that fear rises in her chest like a reflex she can't control. You think things are finally aligning, finally flowing, finally moving towards something meaningful. She laughs harder, lets you in deeper, opens doors she doesn't open for most men. You feel warmth, softness, curiosity, and then suddenly she pulls back. What most men misread as rejection is actually her hitting an internal threshold, not of disinterest, but of vulnerability. And vulnerability, to a woman who has lived through disappointment, betrayal, or emotional instability in her past, doesn't feel like romance. It feels like danger. When she feels real emotion, she feels real risk. And real risk, to her, means losing control. Her mind starts racing faster than she can ground herself. She feels exposed because liking you means you now have the ability to hurt her, ignore her, choose someone else, or walk away. And for a woman, the loss of emotional control is one of the most terrifying sensations in the world. It makes her feel small. It makes her feel unguarded. It makes her feel like she's standing in an open field without protection, hoping the storm doesn't break. And that's why she retreats. To you, it seems sudden, like a switch flipped. One night, she's opening her soul. The next, she's distant. But if you look beneath the surface, you'll see the truth. Her pullback is her defense. Her emotional shield snapping back into place the moment she realizes the feelings she has for you are stronger than she expected. stronger than she's comfortable admitting, stronger than she knows how to regulate. Her logical mind tries to stay in control, calculating, analyzing, self-protecting, but her emotions are moving faster than her logic can keep up. That's when panic hits her, not because of something you did wrong, but because everything is going too right. Most men fail in this exact moment. They sense the distance and immediately try to fix it. They over-text, they over-explain, they over-pursue. They try to reassure her with intensity because they think reassurance will calm her. But reassurance, when she's overwhelmed, does the opposite. It confirms that she was right to panic. It confirms that she's losing the upper hand. It confirms that the emotional gravity between you is pulling her faster than she can think, and so she pulls away harder. Here's the truth. She'll never say out loud when her feelings rise. Her instinct isn't to lean in, it's to shield her heart. That's why she suddenly becomes unpredictable. It's not because she's confused about you. It's because she's overwhelmed by herself. Imagine a woman who's been hurt before, someone who gave her heart too quickly once and paid the price, someone who trusted a man who didn't know how to hold her emotions with strength, someone who let herself hope, only to discover the foundation wasn't solid. That woman has learned to protect herself early, fiercely, and preemptively. So, when she starts feeling something real with you, her subconscious screams, "Don't go through that again." The pullback is her armor. The silence is her breathing room. The distance is her attempt to regain emotional control. Here's what you need to understand. As a Stoic man, her fear isn't a flaw. It's a survival instinct. It's her mind trying to slow down what her heart is speeding up. It's the same instinct that tells her to think carefully, to move deliberately, to avoid falling for a man who might not be who he seems. Because when a woman feels something real, she's not afraid of losing you. She's afraid of losing herself. And here's where your role becomes powerful. The moment she pulls back is the moment she's watching you the closest. She's trying to see how you respond when she's scared. She's trying to see whether you'll center yourself or collapse into insecurity. She's trying to see whether your stability is real or just an illusion. Your calmness in this moment isn't just attractive, it's therapeutic. Your steadiness doesn't force her to open up, it allows her to feel safe enough to return on her own terms. When she feels something real, your job isn't to chase. Your job is to anchor, because the truth is simple and brutal. A woman retreats not when she's losing interest, but when she's losing emotional control, and the man who knows how to stay grounded in that storm becomes the man she trusts with the very vulnerability she once feared. When she feels you can affect her emotionally, everything inside her starts to reorganize. The moment a woman realizes you have real emotional impact on her, the entire balance of the connection shifts subtly, silently, but powerfully. At first, she believes she's in control. She chooses when to reply, how much to share, how invested she feels. But as soon as she notices that your presence affects her more than she expected, a different instinct awakens. Not one of excitement, but one of caution, because deep attraction is not gentle for women. It's destabilizing. She starts feeling things she didn't prepare for: anticipation, vulnerability, the unfamiliar sensation of caring too quickly, and with that comes the fear of losing her balance. Women don't fear falling in love. They fear falling too hard before they know if it's safe to fall. That's the beginning of the power dynamic shift. Suddenly, she's not just talking to a guy. She's emotionally invested. And that investment makes her feel like she's giving you leverage over her. Women are highly intuitive. They can feel when the emotional scale starts to tip. If she feels like you're becoming important faster than she intended, her instinct isn't to lean in, it's to regain control. She'll pull back slightly. She'll slow her replies. She'll stop oversharing. She'll act normal again. Even if her emotions are anything but normal, not because she's done with you, but because she needs to restore emotional balance. This is where men misinterpret everything. When she seems distant, he thinks it's disinterest. When she stops being expressive, he panics. When she withdraws, he chases harder. And that chase, those anxious messages, that sudden pressure does exactly what she feared. It gives her the sense that she's losing control of her emotions while you're losing control of yours. Her instinct then strengthens. Protect yourself. Step back. Slow down. Here's the deeper truth that most men never see. A woman doesn't pull back because she has lost interest. She pulls back because her interest has grown too fast. Women with emotional depth fear being too invested before they know where you stand. When you're calm, centered, and steady, she feels the weight of her own desire more clearly. And ironically, your stability can make her feel even less in control because she realizes she is drawn to someone who doesn't need her validation to stay grounded. A man who is emotionally self-contained shifts the dynamic without saying a word. She feels it. She studies it. She recalibrates around it. And part of that recalibration is distance temporary, instinctive, protective. It's not rejection. It's emotional recalibration. When she senses things are moving too fast on her side, her subconscious says, slow down, reset, make sure you're safe. Don't get swept away. This is why women often become colder right after they open up, why they act busy right after being affectionate, why they retreat right after the best conversation you've ever had. Emotionally, she's on the edge, and she needs to step back before she falls. But here's the part that separates strong men from reactive men. A strong man doesn't try to pull her back. He doesn't chase the lost warmth. He doesn't over-explain or overreach. He lets the emotional tide move the way it naturally does. Because feminine emotion isn't a straight line, it's a wave. It rises, it retreats, and it returns stronger when it feels safe. And the man who understands this, who stays calm during the retreat, becomes the anchor she's unconsciously searching for. Her temporary pullback isn't a punishment. It's part of her emotional rhythm. The shift in dynamic isn't about power over you. It's about power over herself. She's not trying to distance you. She's trying to steady herself. And the quieter you remain during that shift, the more she feels drawn back to you, not because you chased, but because your stability reminds her that losing control around you might not be something she needs to fear. There is a moment every man eventually faces with a woman he cares about. A moment that feels like a paradox wrapped in silence. One day she's warm, laughing, opening her heart in ways that make you feel like you're finally breaking through. The next day, she's distant, detached, acting as if nothing meaningful ever happened. And you sit there wondering, how does someone flip that fast? What changed? The truth is both simpler and deeper than you think. She is not pulling away from you. She is pulling away from herself. Inside every woman exists a quiet war, a clash between the part of her that feels and the part of her that remembers. Her emotions lean toward you, reaching out, hungry for connection, safety, and closeness. But her mind pulls her back, warning her of every moment in the past when those same emotions betrayed her. This internal conflict is not logical. It never will be. Logic says you're a good man. You've shown consistency. You've given no reason for doubt. But emotions don't operate from logic. Emotions operate from memory. And the deeper she feels for you, the louder those old memories become. One layer of her wants to lean in. It wants to trust you, to fall into the softness she feels when she's around you, to let go of the armor she's been forced to carry for years. The other layer, the one shaped by past disappointment, whispers caution. Slow down. Don't let him in too far. Don't let him hurt you the way others did. So she fluctuates. She opens up when her emotions win. She retreats when her mind wins. And you become the battlefield caught between her desire to move closer and her fear of losing herself. What most men don't see is that this push and pull is not about you being wrong for her. It's about the feeling of being right. Too right, too real, too powerful. When her emotions rise beyond her ability to stay in control, she instinctively tries to regulate herself. And the way women regulate is by creating distance. It's not rejection. It's emotional self-preservation. She might feel herself getting happy too quickly. She might notice how her mood changes when you text. She might realize that she's thinking about you more than she wants to admit, even to herself. And that realization triggers a quiet panic. Not because she doesn't want you, but because she suddenly sees the danger if you matter. Then you can hurt her. If she lets you in, she loses the illusion of emotional control. And losing control terrifies her more than loneliness ever will. In these moments, she is trying to find equilibrium. She's trying to slow down her heart so she can hear her thoughts again. She's trying to make sure she's not being swept into something she can't emotionally manage. And that's why she might become colder right after being the warmest she's ever been. It's why she might retreat right after confessing something vulnerable. It's why she might hesitate right after saying she feels safe with you. This is not inconsistency. It's conflict. And this conflict can make her behave in ways that confuse the hell out of you. She might look emotionally closed off. But internally, she's flooded. She might act indifferent. But internally, she's overthinking. She might pull away. But internally, she's fighting an urge to move even closer. The truth is simple. Her emotions are pulling her toward you, and her mind is pulling her away from the risk of caring too much. Neither side is winning. She's just trying to survive the intensity of feeling something real. And here's the part most men misunderstand. Trying to fix her emotional conflict only makes it worse. When you chase pressure or demand clarity, you're not calming her. You're confirming her fear that you're now holding emotional power over her. But when you give her space without punishment, when you remain calm instead of reactive, when you let her emotional tide rise and fall without losing your own center, something shifts. Your steadiness becomes the anchor in her storm, because she's not testing your words. She's testing your stability. She's asking a silent question with her distance. Can you remain grounded even when I'm not? Most men fail that test. 70% panic. 20% retaliate. Only a rare few stay composed. And those rare few are the men women return to, because they offer what no emotional surge can destroy: masculine presence. When you understand the war between her mind and her emotions, her pushback stops feeling like personal rejection. It becomes what it really is, her attempt to protect her heart while hoping you are strong enough to stay exactly where you are. When a woman pulls back right when things start to feel real, most men assume something is wrong. They panic. They question themselves. They replay every message and every moment, trying to figure out where the connection broke. But what they never realize is this: her pullback is not a rejection. It's a test. And not the kind she consciously designs. It's instinctual, emotional, automatic. She isn't trying to manipulate you. She's trying to measure you, because when her feelings intensify, a woman suddenly becomes hyper-aware of one thing: your stability, not your looks, not your words, not even your affection, but your emotional center. She needs to know whether the man she's drawn to is steady or fragile, whether he stands on solid ground or whether he'll crumble the moment she steps back. This is where the real test begins. When she pulls away, she's observing who you become. Does her distance trigger fear in you? Do you chase her the moment she stops responding? Do you try to fix what you don't understand? Do you pressure her for answers because uncertainty makes you uncomfortable? Every reaction you have becomes data in her mind. She's not looking for perfection, she's looking for strength. She's looking for emotional leadership. She's looking for proof that you won't be destabilized by her emotions. Because if you can't handle the small storms, you'll never withstand the real ones. Her distance is a stability check. She wants to see if you stay rooted when she steps back. And this isn't something she plans, it's just how her feminine psychology works. The feminine seeks the masculine not through words, but through presence. And presence is only proven under tension. Anyone can act confident when everything feels easy. The question is, who are you when she becomes uncertain? Who are you when the energy shifts? Who are you when she stops pouring warmth into the connection? Most men fail because they respond from insecurity. They chase. They over-explain. They try to reconnect too quickly. They make her emotional retreat about themselves. And in doing so, they fail. The one thing she was truly trying to understand: whether this man can hold frame when she cannot. When a woman pulls away, your emotional gravity is being weighed. And she's searching for one answer: is he stable enough for me to trust my feelings with? The irony is that the test doesn't require you to say anything profound or make any dramatic gesture. It requires the opposite: non-reactivity, the ability to stay calm, centered, steady, even when the connection dips. Because when she pulls back, she's also experiencing her own conflict. Her mind is trying to regain control from her emotions, and if you rush in with panic or pressure, you amplify the very fear that made her step back in the first place. But when you stay grounded, something powerful happens. She feels safe. She feels like she can breathe again. Because your steadiness communicates the one thing she didn't know how to ask for: emotional leadership. And that is what pulls her back. Not force, not pressure, not explanations, but presence. She wants to know that you won't collapse under emotional tension. She wants to know that her feelings won't overwhelm you. She wants to know that you don't need her constant reassurance to remain confident. Pullback is the moment where she stops watching your words and starts watching your energy. And your energy tells the truth. Her subconscious asks, does this man stay who he is when I step away, or does he become someone else? If you remain steady, she moves toward you again, not because you chased her, but because your stillness reassured her, because your lack of panic restored her sense of emotional safety, because your calmness spoke louder than any message ever could. And that is the test. You didn't know you were taking the test she didn't know she was giving, but the one that determines everything. When a woman goes quiet, most men misread it completely. They panic. They assume she's done. They start scrambling for answers. But silence is rarely about losing interest. Silence is what happens when her emotions outrun her ability to manage them. To a man, silence feels like absence. To a woman, silence is protection. You have to understand something fundamental about the feminine psyche. When a woman feels deeply, she retreats inward before she lets anyone see how much she feels. Not because she doesn't care, but because caring makes her feel exposed, and exposure makes her feel unsafe. Her silence is not rejection. It's emotional overload. Women don't shut down because they stop feeling. They shut down because they're feeling too much. Think about this from her side. The closer she feels to you, the more vulnerable she becomes. The more vulnerable she becomes, the more her mind begins to warn her. Slow down. Protect yourself. Don't let him get too close before you know you won't get hurt. So her silence becomes a buffer, a pause, a reset. It's her way of pulling back just enough so she can regain emotional balance. Most men take this personally. The Stoic man doesn't, because the Stoic man understands that her silence isn't about him. It's about the emotional noise she's battling inside. Maybe she's afraid of repeating old trauma. Maybe she's scared that the last time she felt this much, she got abandoned. Maybe she's terrified because she finally found someone who genuinely affects her. And when a woman reaches that level of emotional intensity, silence becomes her armor. Here's the mistake 99% of men make during this phase. They react emotionally instead of responding intentionally. They chase her. They double text. They try to force clarity. They try to fix her emotions. But what they don't realize is this: the more you try to pull her out of her silence, the deeper into it she goes. Not because she's trying to punish you, but because your pressure confirms her fear that if she opens up too soon, she'll lose control. Her silence is not an invitation to chase. It's an invitation to remain grounded. And this is where the inner strength of a man is measured. A woman's silence reveals the truth behind her fear. Fear of attachment. Fear of losing herself. Fear of losing you. Fear of depending on someone who could decide to walk away at any moment. Her silence is her way of slowing the emotional flood before it sweeps her away. And when you understand this, you stop trying to fill the silence with words. You stop trying to pull her back prematurely. You stop interpreting her distance as rejection. Instead, you give her the one thing she's secretly hoping you'll provide, the stability her silence is trying to restore. This is where your masculine stillness matters more than anything. Your energy must stay calm. You must stay centered. You must stay warm, but not needy. Patient, but not passive. Present, but not demanding. A simple, grounded message can do more than a dozen panicked texts. Take your time. I'm here. No pressure. No fear. No insecurity. When she feels that, truly feels it, something inside her shifts. She realizes, you're not like the men who panicked before. You're not like the men who punished her silence with anger. And you're not like the men who turned cold the moment things got confusing. Your steadiness becomes her safety. Your calm becomes her anchor. Your presence becomes the place she can return to without fear. Because feminine silence isn't a wall. It's a wound that needs space to breathe. And when a man can give her that space without abandoning her emotionally, that's when she begins to trust him in a way she's never trusted anyone before. Not because you forced her to, not because you chased her, but because her silence met your strength and her fear finally met a man who doesn't run. When a woman begins to pull away, most men collapse into the very behaviors that confirm her fears. They overthink. They chase. They try to force reassurance. They lose their center. But a stoic man, a grounded man, responds differently, not with pressure, not with panic, not with attempts to fix her emotions. He responds with presence, patience, and unreactive masculinity. And that changes everything. Because when a woman pulls away, she isn't looking for a man who tries to drag her back. She's watching to see whether you can stand firm in yourself when her emotions become unpredictable. She's watching to see whether your confidence is real, or something that collapses the moment she becomes distant. A stoic response isn't silence rooted in ego. It's calm, rooted in strength. It's the ability to stay open while also staying grounded, to give her space without detaching from yourself, to remain present, but not pressing. And here's the paradox: the calmer you remain, the safer she feels. The safer she feels, the faster she comes back. Let's break down the psychology behind this. Presence, not pressure. When a woman feels overwhelmed, pressure suffocates here. It makes her retreat deeper into her own emotional cave. She needs room to breathe. Not a man who demands explanations she isn't ready to give. A stoic man understands this. He doesn't flood her phone, question his worth, or try to control the outcome. He simply remains present. Presence is not texting constantly. Presence is not asking, "Are you okay? What's wrong? Did I do something?" Presence is the quiet confidence that says you're free. I'm here. I don't need to chase you to know my value. This difference is enormous. Most men respond from fear. A stoic man responds from grounded awareness, and women can feel that instantly. Calm energy feminine. Emotion is chaotic. fluid, ever-changing. When a woman feels too much, too quickly, her instincts tell her to retreat, not because she doesn't care, but because the intensity scares her. In that emotional storm, she doesn't need a man who adds more chaos. She needs a man who stays calm, a man whose energy says, "Whatever you're feeling, I'm not shaken." A man who doesn't rise and fall with her moods. A man who isn't pulled into insecurity when she needs space. This calm energy is profoundly reassuring to a woman. It communicates maturity. It communicates emotional leadership. It communicates that you're a safe place without suffocating her with reassurance. Where most men spiral into panic, the Stoic man breathes. Where most men try to repair the connection, the Stoic man trusts the connection. Where most men try to rush her emotions, the Stoic man respects her emotional tempo, and that emotional steadiness becomes the gravitational pull that slowly draws her back. Unreactive masculinity. This is the hallmark of a Stoic man. Unreactive doesn't mean cold. Unreactive doesn't mean indifferent. Unreactive means you don't let her emotional fluctuation dictate your behavior, identity, or self-worth. If she takes longer to reply, you don't panic. If she says she needs space, you don't beg. If her energy shifts, you don't shift your sense of self. You stay grounded, not because you're playing games, but because you refuse to abandon yourself just to hold on to someone else. Women test through emotion. Men fail through reaction. Unreactive masculinity is the quiet message that says, your emotions are allowed to breathe, but my center remains mine. This makes you incredibly attractive, because it's rare. Most men crumble under feminine pressure. A Stoic man remains immovable but gentle, strong but patient, present but boundaried. Steadiness equals safety. A woman's greatest fear in love is emotional abandonment. Her greatest desire is emotional safety. Here's the twist. When she pulls away, she's not trying to leave you. She's trying to see if you are someone she can return to. Your steadiness becomes her signal. Your calm becomes her comfort. Your confidence becomes her anchor. When she sees that her emotional pullback didn't cause you to collapse into anger, clinginess, or insecurity, her nervous system relaxes. She realizes she didn't break the connection. She simply stretched it, and it held firm. That is the moment trust begins. Women don't trust a man who chases. They trust a man who stands. Women don't trust a man who pressures. They trust a man who remains peaceful. Women don't trust a man who reacts emotionally. They trust a man who responds with maturity. Your steadiness creates the emotional safety she needs to approach again. Don't chase. Don't punish. Don't disappear. This is the Stoic rule that reshapes every pullback dynamic. 1. Don't chase. It makes her feel suffocated and confirms her fear that she's losing control. 2. Don't punish. Ignoring her, acting cold, or trying to make her jealous only deepens her emotional fear. 3. Don't disappear. Vanishing as a power move is just emotional immaturity dressed as masculinity. Real masculine strength is quiet self-control. A Stoic man's response is simple: give space without withdrawing love. Stay calm without becoming passive. Remain present without being intrusive. Because the goal is not to teach her a lesson, the goal is to show her a standard, and the standard is this: I'm not shaken by distance. I'm not pressured by emotion. I remain myself. That is the man she returns to. That is the man she respects. That is the man she chooses, again and again. When a woman pushes you away, every insecure impulse inside you wants to react, to chase, to clarify, to fix. But the moment you resist those impulses and choose steadiness instead, something powerful begins to shift, not just in her, but in you. Because the truth is this: the emotional gravity of the relationship reverses the moment you stop chasing. Women don't consciously articulate this, but they feel it instantly. When she creates distance and you hold your center, you no longer orbit her emotions. She begins orbiting yours. She starts feeling the silence she created. She starts wondering why you didn't crumble, panic, or fold. And slowly, her mind begins to associate your presence not with pressure, but with peace. This is where emotional polarity snaps back into place. When you hold your ground, you show her something rare: a man who isn't threatened by uncertainty, a man who doesn't need immediate reassurance, a man who can withstand a woman's emotional storm without losing his internal balance. Suddenly, the distance she created doesn't feel like control, it feels like loss. And loss awakens desire far more powerfully than reassurance ever will. She begins replaying your last conversations. She starts checking if you viewed her story. She reads your calm message again. She wonders if you've moved on. She questions whether pushing you away was a mistake, because her mind expected you to chase. Her emotions expected you to break. When neither happens, her narrative collapses. What replaces it is curiosity, and curiosity is the first step back toward connection. Holding your ground also forces her to confront her own feelings without using you as an emotional cushion. She now has to sit with her anxiety, her fear, her longing, her questions. She can't discharge them into you through conflict or control. She must feel them alone. And that's when she finally realizes she didn't push you away because you were wrong for her. She pushed you away because you mattered. But now she sees something she didn't notice before: your self-respect. And that self-respect becomes the magnet. It becomes the calm center she wants to return to. It becomes the emotional stability she can't create for herself. When you hold your ground, you communicate with your silence what weak men try to say with paragraphs. I don't need you to choose me, but I don't fear losing you either. That energy is irresistible, not because it's manipulative, but because it's masculine. It's rooted, it's sovereign. When she comes back, and she will, she doesn't return the same way she left. She returns softer, more open, less defensive, because she now knows something she didn't understand before. You're not the kind of man she can push away with fear. You're the kind of man she can trust with vulnerability. And that is the turning point. Not when she pulls back, but when you refuse to collapse with her. When a woman pulls away, most men panic. They chase. They overthink. They break their own frame, trying to fix something that was never theirs to fix. But you're not most men. You're the man who learns, who adapts, who grows stronger every time life tests his emotional stability. Because here's the truth, you now understand. A woman's distance isn't the end. It's feedback. It's information. And when you hold your ground with calm, masculine presence, the entire dynamic shifts back to you. Not because you manipulated her, not because you begged for reassurance, but because your steadiness became the one thing she realized she could trust. Remember this as you walk away from today's video. A woman may push you away from fear, but she comes back to the man whose energy makes her feel safe. Not safe from the world, safe from herself. Safe from her own emotional storms. Safe to feel, without losing herself. And that man is the one who doesn't chase confusion. He chooses clarity. He chooses calm. He chooses awareness. If today's message hit you deeply, let it be a reminder of the man you're becoming. A man who leads through presence, not pressure. A man who stands tall when emotions pull in every direction. A man who chooses strength over reaction. Every single time. Now I want you to lock this in. Comment below, I stay grounded no matter what. Say it once. Type it once. Live it every day. If you're ready for more videos that sharpen your emotional discipline, deepen your masculine presence, and expose the truth no one else dares to say, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another lesson that could change the way you think, connect, and lead.